Ratio analysis. Ratio shows the relationship between two factors, and these factors can be expressed in the form of a fraction where you have numerator and a denominator. This ratio analysis in accounting is accounting ratios. Accounting ratios. So we'll be talking about accounting ratios here. And as I said, ratio expresses a relationship between two factors. And these two factors are shown in the form of numerator and denominators. And these factors can be the item from either profit and loss statement or balance sheet or both of them taken together. Then why ratio analysis? It helps one to understand how well the business is managed, what is the profitability of the business, what is the liquidity, financial liquidity position of the business, and so on. For different ratios which are taken. Number one, liquidity ratio. Number two, you have solvency ratio. Number three, you have activity ratio, and number four is profitability ratio. The liquidity ratio, we have, what is the liquidity ratio? Liquidity ratio shows what? The firm's ability to meet short-term obligations, and it is shown by two different ratios. One is current ratio and another one is liquid ratio. Solvency ratio, it is the ratio which measures the firm's ability to meet its long-term liabilities or obligations. And here we calculate debt to equity ratio, proprietary ratio, debt to total assets ratio, and number D, interest coverage ratio. Activity ratio, it shows the performance of a business, how well a business enterprise is using its resources. That means how well the business is selling its resources and generating profit. Under the activity ratio, number A, trade receivable turnover ratio, Number B, you have trade payable turnover ratio. Working capital turnover ratio. Number D, inventory turnover turnover ratio. The profitability ratio. Profitability ratio shows the business efficiency or the business ability to generate profit, and it is measured by the following ratios. Number one, you have gross profit ratio, B, net profit ratio, number C, operating ratio, number D, operating profit ratio, number E, earning per share, F, price earning ratio, and number G, you have return on investment. Return on investment. These are the ratios we have: liquidity ratio, solvency ratio, activity ratio, profitability ratio. So altogether, how many ratios you have to know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 ratios you have to know in this chapter. Let's understand current ratio. Current ratio. You require two factors, that means one as a numerator, another as denominator. Since there is a word current ratio, so you go to take those factors which are related to current, right? Before understanding this current ratio, I'll just explain you about the balance sheet. Balance sheet, on the liability side, you have this factor, shareholders fund, then you have non-current liabilities, then you have current liabilities. And on the asset side, you have two factors, non-current assets and current assets. I think by now you all have understood the meaning of this: shareholders fund, non-current liabilities, current liabilities, but still I'll explain you once. Shareholders fund, these are all those funds which have relation with the shareholders. That means the shareholders have a claim on it, like share capital, reserve and surplus. Then you have non-current liabilities. That means long-term liabilities. These are long-term liabilities. Liabilities or obligation of a business which remains or which needs to be paid in a long period of time. Current liabilities are short-term obligation. That means the liabilities which need to be paid within a year. That is called current liability. Similarly, assets, non-current assets and current assets. Non-current assets are long-term assets which remain in the business for a long period of time. It does not change. Whereas current asset it keeps on changing and remains in the business for a short period of time. Okay, so when we are talking about the current factor here, we are talking about this current factor here on the liability side and current factor on the asset side. So your formula for current ratio becomes current assets divided by current liabilities. Current liabilities. Right? Then you know what are the current assets and current liabilities. There are so many current assets: cash, bank, inventories, prepaid expenses, short-term loans and advances, trade receivables. These are current assets. Similarly, current liabilities: short-term borrowings, trade payable, creditors, other current liabilities, short-term provision. All this come under current liability. But one thing you need to remember here in the current assets, when you are required to take the inventories, your inventories should be excluding loose tools and spare parts. It is not included in inventories because the company holds them as a production tool and not for the purpose of selling or converting them into cash. Sundry debtors should not include provision for doubtful debts. Sundry debtors should not include provision for doubtful debts. This provision for doubtful debts should not be included in the sundry debtors. These two things you have to know about the current ratio while calculating the current ratio. Quick ratio, which is also known as liquid ratio, it is part of the current factors, current items. Current items are here, current liabilities and current assets. That means the item for quick ratio should also be taken from current liabilities and current assets, but all these items may not come in the quick ratio. Quick ratio, now here quick ratio, what are the, here you have current liabilities and current assets. So since there is a word quick ratio, so we would be taking the term like quick assets divided by quick liabilities, related term. So instead of quick liabilities, we take current liabilities, following the principle of conservatism, right? So what are quick assets then? Those assets which can be converted into cash immediately. Like say debtors, you have a debtors. Who are the debtors? The customers to whom goods were sold on credit. Now what is the next step from the debtors? Receiving money. Debtors need not be converted into any other form. It can straightway get converted into cash form. So debtor is your quick asset. Like inventory. Is inventory a quick asset? No, inventory is not quick asset. What are inventories? These are stocks, unsold stocks. In order to get this unsold stock converted into cash, what you have to do? You have to sell it. Either you sell in cash or you sell on credit. If you sell in cash, it is immediately converted into cash. But if you sell it on credit, it is not converted into cash immediately. The stock gets converted to debtor, and then the debtor, from debtor it will get converted to cash. It is not immediately converted. That is the reason why the inventories will not be considered here. Inventories will not be taken because this cannot be converted into cash immediately. Another item which is in current asset, like prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses, it is also a current asset. Now let's check prepaid expenses. Will it be your quick asset? Again, no. Prepaid expenses cannot be quick asset. Why? Because prepaid expenses means you have paid in advance for some services yet to be received. Like wages prepaid. That is prepaid expenses. In place of wages paid in advance, what are you going to receive? Not the cash. You are going to receive service. Prepaid expenses cannot be converted into cash. It has to be converted into a form of service. Since this cannot be converted into cash, so prepaid expenses will not be taken in the quick assets. So, what are the quick assets then? All these current assets minus inventories and prepaid expenses will be your quick assets. Current liabilities, no problem. Whatever current liabilities given, the things that we got to take. Debt to equity ratios, again two factors. The factors are here itself, guys. You don't need to mug up this formula. You just have the concept. Let's understand this very well. You have the information here in the statement debt to equity ratio here itself. This is a ratio between what? Debt and equity, right? So one factor will be long term debt, another one is the equity. Equity here means the shareholders. So look at the balance sheet here. You have shareholders fund, non-current liabilities, current liabilities. So here specified here shareholders fund. So we can, instead of equity, you can write down here equity fund also, or you can write down shareholders fund. See how easy it is. Long term debt, here you have non-current liabilities, long term liabilities. Long term dates, that means liabilities or obligation for a longer period of time. That's what. Proprietary ratio. Who is the proprietor here? We know. One factors we know. Proprietor. Who is the proprietor? Shareholders. That means we go to take shareholders fund here. Shareholders fund. Normally the first term, that is why it is taken as numerator. Date was the first term here, so long term date become as a numerator. Say the very easy way of memorizing the formula here. Shareholders fund divided by what now? Proprietor. Proprietor owns the business. Everything belonging to the business goes to whom? The proprietor. Everything here means total liabilities as well as the total assets. But here we are finding out the relationship between the liability to the asset. Here the shareholders fund is a liability, will be expressed in terms of the other asset. So here we'll be taking total assets. How do we get total asset? The total of the balance sheet is the total asset, or total asset means non-current asset plus current asset. So if you know the balance sheet, it's very easy to understand the ratio. Number 5, debt to total assets ratio gives you what? What is the first term? First term is debt. Very easy. So your formula becomes debt means here long term debts. Second factor is total assets. Very easy. You have total assets. That's the formula. Number 6, interest coverage ratio. So one factor is interest here, right? So will be one factor we'll be taking is interest, and this interest is not the interest on short-term borrowings, it is the interest on long-term borrowings. So you have interest on long-term borrowings. This interest will be covered from which amount? This interest will be covered from the profit generated by the business. So that's why the another factor will be the profit. So here we'll have net profit. And net profit can be before interest and tax. Net profit can be after interest and tax. So here we go to take net profit before interest and tax. So these are the two factors we'll be considering here to find out the interest coverage ratio. Trade receivable turnover ratio. Now what are the two factors here? Trade receivable is one factor here, right? Then what could be the another factor? There is another word here, turnover. What is the meaning of turnover? Turnover means sales. Turnover means what? Sales. So turnover here means sales or revenue from operation. So we got the two factors. One factor is trade receivable, another factor is turnover. Turnover means sales. So we have both the factors here. So instead of sales, we'll be writing revenue from operation. This is one of the factors. Another factor is trade receivable. Trade receivable means these are what? Debtors and bills receivable. These are changeable. Current assets which change during the course of year. So the amount in the beginning will not be same as the amount at the end. So here we do take trade receivable. We do take trade receivable, but which amount should we take? Is it the opening amount or the closing amount? Confusion, right? So to remove your confusion, we make it what? Average trade receivable. So we don't take opening, we don't take closing, we take average. And how do we find average? Average means opening plus closing divided by 2. If you are finding average trade receivable, we'll take opening trade receivable plus closing trade receivable divided by 2. Whatever amounts come, we'll take here. Since trade receivable gets generated only out of credit sales, so it's better to take here credit sales. So your formula becomes credit revenue from operation divided by average trade receivable. Number 8, trade payables turnover ratio. This trade receivable has a relation with sales. That is why we have taken sales here. But the trade payables means creditors. They have a relation with sales or purchases. Very smart. Yes, purchases. So here we go to take the term purchases. So here we'll have net credit purchases, and again it is what? Average trade payables. Number 9, working capital turnover ratio. Working capital, one factor, another factor is turnover. Like a trade payables, we can connect it to the credit purchase. Trade receivables, we can connect it to the sales. Working capital, we cannot connect it to anything else. But there is a word turnover, so we'll take the simple one. What is that turnover here? Sales. So you have the formula sales. Sales is known as revenue from operation. Very good. And what would be the another factor? Here you have working capital. So we'll take working capital. Very simple. Working capital. How do we find capital? Asset minus liability. So working means keep on changing. So what is the name of the assets and liabilities which keep on changing? Yes, as I explained earlier here, it is current assets and current liabilities. So this will give you working capital. So we have the formula here. Inventory turnover ratio. Now let's see how many of you will be able to tell me this. Inventory turnover ratio. Yes, anyone here? Turnover means sales. And for sales, what do we take? We take revenue from operation. Very smart here. Revenue from operation. And what is the another term here? Inventory. And again, in case of inventory, you will have opening inventory and closing inventory, isn't it? So when you have opening inventory and closing inventory, what do you need to take? Very good. Average inventory. Yes. Average inventory. And how do we calculate average inventory? As I have mentioned here, average is opening plus closing divided by 2. Same way. Now, the question here is closing stock. Closing stock is mostly valued at cost. Valued at cost, not at the selling price. Right? Now, since inventory is valued at cost, this revenue from operations should also be valued at cost. If you simply write revenue from operation, this means this is the selling price, that means market value. But here inventory is not at market value, it is at cost value, cost price. So this revenue from operation should also be at cost price. So instead of revenue from operation, we'll write down here cost of revenue from operation. And how do you find out cost of revenue from operation? Cost of revenue from operation can be calculated as revenue from operation minus gross profit. Or in other words, we can also calculate this one as what are the items included in the sales? In the sales, what will be included? Opening stock plus the purchase that you make. Then there will be what? Direct expenses included there. Then there will be some amount of closing stock. Closing stock. So we'll subtract this. We'll get cost of revenue from operation. Opening stock that you have in the beginning. Purchases that you purchase some material. Then there will be some direct expenses because whatever opening stock was there, whatever purchases you made, right, this will be used for further production. Goods have to be processed, so there will be some expenses, so that expenses will be included. This is called direct expenses. And closing stocks will be subtracted because this is unsold stock at the end of the year. So when you subtract this, you will get what? How many units of goods have been sold, right? And this is related to the sales. This is how we'll find out the cost of revenue from operation. 11. Gross profit ratio. How do you calculate gross profit ratio? Again, here you have gross profit. So you have gross, you know the term gross profit. And gross profit is earned by selling goods. So the another factor is sales. That means revenue from operation. This is your ratio. Gross profit ratio is there, but mostly this gross profit are expressed in terms of percentage. So here we'll multiply by 100 and you will get the answer in percentage. Number 12. Net profit ratio. As the term goes, you know it is net profit. Again, profit is generated out of sales. So revenue from operation, it is again expressed in terms of percentage. So 100 will get the answer in percentage. Operating profit ratio. Operating profit. Yeah. Operating profit divided by again RA4 into 100. So again you will get the percentage in percentage terms. How do you get net operating profit? net operating profit is net profit after tax plus non-operating expenses minus non-operating income will give you net operating profit. Net profit after tax plus NOE, non-operating expenses minus NOI. Non-operating expenses means those expenses which are not related to the administration and running of the businesses, like you have depreciation, interest on borrowings, loss on sale of non-current assets, right? And non-operating income means those income which are not generated from the normal activity of the business. Income generated from investment or some other secondary activity of the business will be termed as non-operating income, like rent received, dividend received, a profit on sale of assets. Okay. 14. Earning per share. Earning per share. Earning for whom? Earning for the shareholders. What is called earning? Earning here means profit. Profit available to the shareholders. And this profit is called what? Net profit after tax and preference dividend, because this is the amount available to the equity shareholders. And since you are what is called calculating per share, that means you need to divide this total earning available to the equity shareholders by what? Number of equity shares. Number 15, you have price earning ratio. Shares are traded in stock market. That means the share has a price in the market which is called market value. Here you are going to take the market price. Market price per share divided by the earning. Earning here we have already calculated, earning per share divided by earning per share. Simple way. Number 16, return on investment, which is also called ROI. You have net profit before interest and tax divided by capital employed. Here we have operating ratio. So the operating ratio is equals to cost of revenue from operation plus operating expenses divided by revenue from operation into 100. This cost of revenue from operation plus operating expenses is also known as operating cost, right? Operating cost means this is the cost involved in managing the business. When do you need to manage the business? When the business is done in large scale, there is huge amount of sales, then you need to manage the business. And since this expense is incurred because of large scale sales, that is why here the sales has been taken as another factor here, RFO. So here we end.